Komodo dragons are often described as the ultimate island predators. They're heavy-bodied lizards built for ambush, equipped with serrated teeth, powerful neck muscles, and a venom system that weakens prey through blood loss and shock. In their native range, very few animals challenge them directly. Most creatures that encounter a Komodo dragon are already at a disadvantage before they even realize the lizard is nearby. That reputation has turned the Komodo dragon into something close to a mythic animal, a reminder that reptiles can still dominate ecosystems in the modern world. But dominance in nature is never universal. It is always conditional. A Komodo dragon's success depends on very specific factors lining up at the right moment. It relies on surprise, manageable prey size, favorable terrain, and a target that lacks the ability or willingness to fight back aggressively. When those conditions disappear, the Komodo dragon's advantages begin to collapse. That is what the word defeat means in this context. It does not mean a guaranteed outcome or a dramatic battle. It refers to situations where a Komodo dragon would lose control of the interaction, abandon the hunt, or be placed at such high risk that its typical strategy no longer works. In most cases, animals do not fight Komodo dragons at all. They avoid them, flee from them, or simply never share the same environment. Some of the animals discussed here do not live anywhere near Komodo dragons, and those comparisons are theoretical, based on anatomy, behavior, and ecological roles rather than real encounters. Others could, under rare circumstances, meet a Komodo dragon in overlapping habitats. In each case, what matters is not raw strength alone, but how quickly the balance shifts when the dragon's usual hunting methods stop being effective. One comparison that is often misunderstood is the tiger. Tigers do not share habitat with Komodo dragons, and they never interact in the wild. Any comparison between the two is theoretical. Still, it is useful because it highlights how dramatically the Komodo dragon strategy depends on prey behavior. Tigers are ambush predators themselves, but they are also fast, highly alert, and explosively aggressive when threatened. A Komodo dragon relies on slow stalking and a sudden bite to disable prey that cannot respond quickly. That approach fails almost immediately against an animal that can pivot, accelerate, and counterattack in fractions of a second. A tiger's body plan alone changes the equation. It is built for rapid bursts of movement, with powerful hind limbs, flexible joints, and a nervous system tuned for quick decision-making. If a Komodo dragon attempted to ambush a tiger, the likelihood of success would be extremely low. The moment the tiger registered the movement, the encounter would shift from a hunt to a risk scenario for the dragon. Tigers do not retreat easily from perceived threats, especially at close range. Their first response is often to face the danger directly rather than flee. This is where the venom becomes irrelevant. The venom works best when the dragon can bite and then disengage, allowing blood loss and shock to weaken the prey over time. Against the tiger, disengagement would be difficult, and even a successful bite would not guarantee safety. Tigers have thick muscle layers, loose skin around the neck and shoulders, and a tolerance for injury that allows them to continue fighting despite pain. The dragon would be forced into a prolonged close-range interaction, which is exactly what its anatomy is not designed for. More importantly, a tiger has no evolutionary reason to avoid a Komodo dragon. Many of the animals Komodo dragons hunt lack the tools to seriously injure them. Tigers do.
A single committed counterattack would likely end the encounter immediately, not because the tiger is invincible, but because the dragon's margin for error disappears. In this comparison, defeat does not mean death. It means the Komodo dragon's hunting advantage is gone before it can even be applied. Large bears create a similar but even more extreme imbalance. Grizzly bears and polar bears are treated together here because despite living in different environments, they share core traits that matter for this comparison. Both are massive, thick-skinned, highly aggressive animals with immense strength and endurance. A Komodo dragon's entire hunting strategy is built around targeting animals that are large but slow to react, or smaller animals that can be overpowered quickly. Bears fit neither category. The sheer size difference alone shifts the interaction. An adult bear outweighs a Komodo dragon several times over, but weight is only part of the issue. Bears have dense fur, thick layers of fat, and powerful skeletal structures that make shallow bites far less effective. Even if a Komodo dragon managed to bite a bear, the venom would take time to have any meaningful effect, and that time is something the dragon would not have. Bears do not rely on hesitation. When they perceive a threat at close range, especially from an unfamiliar animal, their response is often immediate and forceful. Another critical factor is risk tolerance. Komodo dragons are formidable, but they are cautious. They avoid unnecessary injuries because healing is slow and injuries can be fatal over time. Bears, on the other hand, are far more willing to absorb risk when defending territory or investigating potential threats. A Komodo dragon faced with an advancing bear would almost certainly disengage immediately, not because it is weak, but because continuing the encounter offers no benefit and extreme danger. This is where the concept of defeat becomes clearer. A Komodo dragon does not need to be killed to lose. Losing control of the situation, being forced to retreat, or being unable to apply venom safely all count as a breakdown of its dominance. Against large bears, the balance shifts almost instantly, simply because the dragon has no safe path to success. Elephants represent a different kind of comparison altogether. Unlike predators, elephants are not interested in hunting or killing. They are driven by protection, memory, and social behavior. A Komodo dragon would never attempt to hunt an elephant, even a juvenile, under normal conditions. The size difference is too extreme, and the risk is absolute. But elephants demonstrate how power can override even the most sophisticated hunting adaptations without any intent to fight. An elephant's mass alone makes the Komodo dragon's bite largely irrelevant. The venom system that is so effective against deer or wild pigs becomes meaningless when introduced to an animal weighing several tons. Even more important is the elephant's awareness. Elephants are highly intelligent, with strong spatial memory and acute sensitivity to movement and vibration. A stalking Komodo dragon would almost certainly be detected long before it came within striking distance. If an elephant perceived a Komodo dragon as a threat, especially near calves, the response would be decisive. Elephants do not hesitate. They charge, stomp, and use their size as a weapon without needing to bite or grapple. In this case, defeat means total exclusion. The Komodo dragon cannot hunt, cannot intimidate, and cannot remain nearby. The environment itself becomes inaccessible. This comparison highlights something important. A Komodo dragon's dominance is ecological, not absolute. It rules within a narrow band of conditions. When size crosses a certain threshold, its evolutionary advantages simply stop functioning.
Hippopotamuses create a more complex scenario. Unlike elephants, hippos share habitats with large reptiles in some parts of the world, including crocodiles. This makes the comparison more behaviorally grounded, even though Komodo dragons and hippos do not naturally interact. Hippos are among the most aggressive large mammals on Earth, not because they are predators, but because they are territorial and intolerant of intrusion. A Komodo dragon's approach would break down almost immediately around a hippo. Hippos do not flee when threatened, they confront. Their skin is thick, their muscle mass is enormous, and their jaws are capable of crushing bone. More importantly, hippos do not behave like prey. There is no opportunity for a clean ambush and retreat. Any close contact would trigger an explosive response. This is another case where venom offers little advantage. Even if delivered successfully, the time delay before it weakens the target is far longer than the dragon could safely remain nearby. Hippos have been documented killing animals much larger than Komodo dragons in seconds. The risk imbalance is extreme. Most encounters would end before contact. The dragon would retreat long before attempting a bite. In that sense, the hippo defeats the Komodo dragon without ever engaging it directly. Its aggression and intolerance reshape the space around it, making the Komodo dragon's presence untenable. Anacondas are a special case and must be handled carefully. They are not consistent threats to Komodo dragons and would only pose a serious risk under very specific and rare conditions. Anacondas rely on ambush, water, and surprise. They are not fast on land and they do not chase prey. Their power comes from positioning and constriction. In a dry, open environment, a Komodo dragon would likely dominate the interaction. But in dense vegetation near water, where visibility is limited and movement is constrained, the balance can shift. If an anaconda were able to ambush a Komodo dragon in shallow water or thick undergrowth, the dragon's size and strength would become liabilities rather than advantages. Constriction works by limiting breathing and circulation, not by inflicting surface damage. Venom would not help if the dragon could not deliver a bite before being restrained. This scenario is rare because it requires precise environmental conditions and positioning. Most of the time, these two animals would avoid each other entirely. But it serves as an example of how even a dominant predator can become vulnerable when its movement and weaponry are restricted. In that narrow context, the Komodo dragon's usual strategy collapses, not due to size or aggression alone, but to physics. Jaguars offer a final comparison that is particularly revealing. Jaguars are built for power rather than speed. They possess one of the strongest bite forces relative to body size among big cats and are known for targeting the skulls of their prey. Like tigers, jaguars do not share habitat with Komodo dragons, making this a theoretical comparison. Still, the overlap in hunting style reveals important differences. Komodo dragons rely on endurance and delayed effects. Jaguars rely on immediate, decisive force. A jaguar's sensory awareness, agility, and willingness to engage at close range neutralize the dragon's strengths. Even a large Komodo dragon would struggle to apply venom safely against an animal capable of delivering a single crushing bite with precision.
This is where the balance shifts most clearly. Jaguars are specialists at killing dangerous prey. They do not test or probe cautiously. They commit fully once they decide to attack. That commitment eliminates the slow, methodical advantage the Komodo dragon depends on. The dragon would either retreat or face overwhelming risk. Again, this does not imply a guaranteed outcome or a real-world confrontation. It illustrates how different evolutionary solutions interact. When two apex predators meet, the one whose strategy depends on delay often loses control of the interaction when facing an opponent built for immediacy. Across all of these comparisons, one principle remains consistent. The Komodo dragon is not weak. It is highly optimized for a specific role. But specialization always comes with limits. When prey is too large, too fast, too aggressive, or too dangerous to disengage from safely, the Komodo dragon's advantage disappears. Most encounters between apex animals never result in conflict. They end in avoidance, recognition, and retreat. Defeat in nature rarely looks dramatic. It looks like an animal choosing not to engage because the cost is too high. In that sense, these animals do not defeat the Komodo dragon by overpowering it, but by removing the conditions that allow it to dominate. That is how balance works in the natural world. Every predator has a context where it reigns and a boundary where it does not. The Komodo dragon sits firmly at the top of its own island ecosystem, but beyond that narrow edge, the balance shifts quickly, reminding us that even the most fearsome animals are shaped, limited, and humbled by the rules of biology.